Don't put me in no motherfucking rap shit by no nigga in my shop with, bro, I don't give a fuck about the Asian man you hanging with. Ain't nobody gonna do nothing to my shop and nothing to my partner. Honeykomb, Brazy, you say, are we real bloods? You know what real bloods do? Call somebody from California so they can tell you what real bloods do. This is what real bloods do. We box. We get on the hands in the grass. You say, oh, we real bloods? Honeykomb, Brazy, if you do not want to box, you not no real bloods, so don't bring me up in that shit.
I don't know what these niggas on. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit crazy, though. Then I'm like, everybody weird. Like, I'm like, bro, I've been through some real shit in life. You can't just tell me. You can't hit no nigga phone and tell a nigga I'm finna pay you to stop hanging around Honeykomb. Man, you gotta give me every... Matter of fact, bitch, I'm not even finna pay a nigga. Man, I wanna smack you on the screen. Down my grandma. I'll make y'all kill me up this one in Houston. Bro, I will make y'all murder me today.
Listen up. Something serious just went down. One person's lost their life, and another's behind bars in federal prison, while the streets are piecing together the story faster than any blog can keep up. This isn't just another rap feud anymore. This is real life catching up with real artists, and the fallout keeps mounting. We're talking about Honeykomb, Brazy, and Sauce Walka, two of the rawest, most unfiltered voices in street rap, and their conflict has now crossed a point of no return. A man is dead. Another was shot in broad daylight. Federal agents are involved. These two have been walking a razor's edge for so long, it's like they forgot what safety even feels like. Let's rewind a bit. March 22nd, 2025. The spot? Downtown Memphis, Tennessee, right outside the Westin Hotel. Sauce Walka was there when two men jumped out of a white car and opened fire. Tragically, his artist, Say So, P, real name Latorian Hunt, just 27 years old, was killed right on the pavement. Sauce himself was hit, wounded in the thigh. The chaos that followed? Sirens everywhere, police swarming the block, blood stained on the street. Memphis PD called it a targeted attack. No coincidence, no random act. Someone had planned every detail. Flashback to December 2023. Honeykomb. Brazy gets pulled over on Interstate 65 near Mobile, Alabama. There's a loaded Smith & Wesson AR pistol within easy reach, and federal agents aren't far behind. They'd been watching him for years. By July 2024, he pleads guilty to a federal gun charge, being a felon in possession of a firearm. The judge set sentencing for October, likely 2.5 to 3.5 years behind bars once again. Two rappers, two cities, two completely different moments. But one tangled web of street ties, viral beefs on social media, gang loyalties, and years of mounting consequences, dating back to at least 2021. And now, the cost of all that tension has come crashing down in the worst possible way. You need to hear this whole story, because the mainstream headlines only give you half the picture. They'll mention Sauce Walka getting shot in Memphis, or Honeykomb Brazy facing prison time, but they're missing the deeper connection and the full truth behind all this. Brazy just landed a serious federal charge, but here's the truth. No one's breaking down the full story, connecting the dots, and laying out exactly how things spiraled to this point. That's where we come in. So buckle up, because this one goes way deeper than you think. Let's start with Honeykomb Brazy. If you haven't heard his name, you need to get the full picture, because this isn't just another rapper pretending to live a street life. This is a guy who was shaped, shattered, rebuilt, and tested by the streets themselves. Nathan Jones, born September 15th, 1993, in Mobile, Alabama. Sounds small on paper, right? Mobile doesn't usually pop up in rap conversations like Atlanta, Houston, Chicago, or New York. But the reality on the ground? The streets in Mobile are as raw and real as it gets. Neighborhoods pulsing with intense gang activity, splits between Bloods, Crips, and fierce local crews that play by their own rules. Honeykomb grew up right in the heart of it all, in the Happy Hills neighborhood, a place once called Africatown, one of the most historically important yet overlooked black communities in America. His early life, far from easy. With his father behind bars as a crime leader and his mom also in prison, Brazy was raised by his aunt and grandparents Tony and Layla Lewis, two figures who would later become central to one of the most devastating moments in his story. But we'll get to that. At just 13 years old, his father, still locked up, gave him an order that changed everything: to shoot his own cousin over some stolen money. The cousin ended up paralyzed. Brazy was on the run, a scared kid forced to survive out on the streets fending for himself. By the time he hit his early 20s, he'd already been through 2 prison stints, faced a second-degree murder charge that was eventually dropped, and been tangled in robbery, assault, drugs, guns.
He's in prison today. Brazy, his real name is Nashawn Jones, pleaded guilty in July to possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The gun wasn't his, but it was within reach in the vehicle he was riding in that got pulled over in December of 2023. 2 armed men in that vehicle who were hired to provide security admitted they were prohibited from having guns. Jones' attorney says his client's grandparents died in 2021 when gunmen fired into their house and sparked an explosion, and that Jones has faced constant violent threats.
The streets of Mobile took everything from him and gave him a perspective that you just can't fake or manufacture inside a recording studio. Brazy didn't become a rapper because it was a pastime. It was his lifeline, his one clear escape from the trap. And he's been brutally honest about that truth in every track he's dropped. Back in 2018, Honeykomb Brazy dropped his track, Freestyle, and it blew up overnight. The music video racked up millions of views, and just like that, Mobile, Alabama had found its rap star. Fast forward to 2020, and none other than Jay Prince, the legendary head of Rap-A-Lot Records, signed Honeykomb Brazy. That's huge. Rap-A-Lot is the empire Scarface built, a label with legendary status and deep roots in hip-hop history. So, when they pick someone, you know that talent passed the test of time and scrutiny. But here's the twist with Honeykomb Brazy. Even as his music took off, he never shook off his roots. The streets kept calling him back, never letting him forget where he came from. Now, let's switch gears to Sauce Walka, born Albert Walker Mundane on June 29, 1990, right in the heart of Houston, Texas, South Park and Southwest Houston to be exact. These neighborhoods aren't just places, they're worlds with their own unwritten laws, culture, and pride. If you know Houston rap, you know it's a city that doesn't follow trends, it creates them. This is the home of giants like DJ Screw, Scarface, UGK, and Pimp C. Sauce Walka grew up steeped in this rich history. He started rapping in 2007 under the name AWOC, repping the Houston rap collective Most Hard. By 2014, he morphed into Sauce Walka, joined forces with Sancho Saucy to form the Sauce Twins, and launched his own label, The Sauce Factory. He dropped mixtapes consistently, building a loyal fan base grounded in authenticity, carving out a unique lane in Houston's competitive rap scene. Then came 2015, the moment that catapulted him onto the national stage. Sauce Walka squared up to Drake. Yep, the Drake. Not with hints or subtle jabs on social media, but a full-on diss track, bar for bar, over Drake's own instrumental from his Back-to-Back track. Sauce called out Drake for showing up at Houston Appreciation Weekend, accusing him of borrowing the city's culture without giving proper respect back. He called out the mainstream star for appropriating Houston's sound without genuine love for the community that built it. The internet exploded. Suddenly, Sauce Walka wasn't just a Houston name. People across the country were saying it loud and proud. But Sauce never softened his image. He kept it real, even when the past caught up with him. In 2009, he faced legal troubles that, picture this, a wild night at a concert hosted by Trey the Truth at Texas Southern University takes a turn. Someone gets shot and wounded. The man involved? He admits guilt and ends up under community supervision. Fast forward to 2018, and Texas state court files reveal the Sauce Factory isn't just a record label, it's flagged as a gang linked with criminal activity. Sauce Walka, he publicly pushed back, insisting it's all about music, not gangs. But everyone on the streets saw the truth, and law enforcement stayed alert. This guy even had Sauce tattooed boldly across his forehead, a symbol of his unapologetic and fearless nature. His whole brand centered on raw honesty and living without fear. Different cities, different vibes, yet the same undeniable energy. Keep it real, no matter the cost. By 2021, Both Honeykomb, Brazy, and Sauce Walka were facing turbulent storms. And that's when their worlds started to collide. Their clashes soon sparked real tension. Take November 2020. Honeykomb Brazy was live on Instagram, casually chatting with fans, when suddenly, gunfire erupted. The shocking moment played out live for the entire internet to see. Honeykomb was struck. This wasn't his first time getting shot. Over the years, he'd been hit multiple times. But witnessing it unfold live had a powerful impact. It was a chilling reminder that the danger around him wasn't just showmanship, it was his everyday reality.
We said we would get up to about 150, 200, we're gonna run it.
Huh? All right, before the show.
For the show, man, y'all already know, y'all know how money bag yo need that shit, man. Y'all know what's going on, man.
I'm supposed to have anything.
I swear.
Then came February 17th, 2021, the darkest night of Honeykomb Brazy's life. This part is crucial, so listen closely. Honeykomb was tangled in a long-standing feud with a man named Darren Southall, a known figure in Mobile's underground scene. The roots of this conflict go back to 2016, when Honeykomb shot and killed Ladarius Moore. Moore had forcefully entered Honeykomb's home to confront him over a woman. Moore's own girlfriend had been involved with Honeykomb. The confrontation escalated, and Honeykomb fired the shot. While charges were eventually dropped because of the circumstances, it didn't sit well with Darren Southall, Moore's uncle, who was now thirsting for revenge. Meanwhile, right around this time, here's the story that shook the streets and sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community. A chilling chapter in the ongoing conflict surrounding Honeykomb. It all ignited when OMB Peasy, a fellow Alabama rapper and associate, posted something disrespectful about Southall's crew on Facebook. At that time, both Peasy and Honeykomb were nowhere to be found, out of reach. So Southall didn't hesitate. He sent 3 men, Terrence Watkins, Jamarcus Chambers, and Patrick Lewis, to strike where it would hurt Honeykomb the most: his grandparents' home on Dr. Thomas Avenue. Meanwhile, Honeykomb watched helplessly through a video call as these 3 men arrived and opened fire inside the house. Tony Lewis, Honeykomb's 62-year-old grandfather, was hit multiple times and tragically died from his injuries. Layla Lewis, his 68-year-old grandmother, was battling COVID-19 and was on oxygen. When the gunfire hit those oxygen tanks, the house exploded in flames. She was caught in that deadly fire and lost her life too. The blaze didn't stop there. It spread to a neighbor's home as well. What made this even more shocking? Federal investigators had already been monitoring Southall's phone and caught every part of the planning. During the court hearing, a detective described the recorded conversations as truly sickening. Assistant District Attorney Lewis Walker made a powerful statement in court. The home was targeted specifically to hurt Honeykomb. "Let me be clear," Walker said. "They murdered 2 elderly grandparents because they knew it would cut Honeykomb deeply. They couldn't get to him directly, so they went after the people who raised him, his heart and soul. They wanted him to feel this pain." Honeykomb immediately took to Instagram, pouring out his grief and love. "Long live Grandma and Grandpa, y'all were my everything. I put y'all in every song. I hate y'all got caught up in this street life. It's a cold world. I beg y'all to let me move on every day, but y'all taught me how to be an honorable man." He made it clear that his grandparents didn't die from the fire itself. It was the gunfire that caused those oxygen tanks to explode. The trauma was deep, but the war wasn't over. In June 2021, his mother's house was riddled with bullets in the middle of the night. She wasn't home, but the message was impossible to miss. Honeykomb's family was still under attack. And then, just as things seemed dark as they could be, a new player stepped into the story: Sauce Walka. November 2021 was about to change everything for Honeykomb as he faced one of the darkest periods of his life. Grandparents gone, the battle raging on. The streets were watching, and this story was far from over. Back in the day, Honeykomb Brazy's mother's house got shot up. Meanwhile, he found himself back behind bars, locked up for parole violations, forced to watch his world crumble from the cold confines of a prison cell. During this time, Sauce Walka and another rapper named Omni rode around in a Hellcat, throwing shade toward Honeykomb's situation. The internet blew up instantly. Videos went viral in the blink of an eye. Now, I'm not here to simplify this drama. It's layered, and the streets get it way better than the internet ever will. When a man's locked down, sitting silent without an easy way to fight back publicly, and others decide that's the moment to throw jabs, that tells you everything about where loyalties lie. It's a loud message about respect, or the lack of it. In their world, perception reigns supreme. It's everything, your currency, your shield. And when your rep takes a hit mid-prison stint, that stings deep. It's a memory that doesn't fade. Sauce Walka? He's never been one to hold back. He says what's on his mind, loud and clear, no filter. That unfiltered honesty? It's exactly what made him who he is. But in the charged world of street politics, timing is everything. And those words he dropped in November 2021, right when Honeykomb was at his lowest, they didn't go unnoticed. Fast forward to November 2023. Honeykomb Brazy is out of prison after serving time for parole violations. He's back, and he's not quiet about it. He's talking, making new tracks, showing he's survived the darkest chapter of his life. He's seen friends fall, but now he's standing tall again. Or at least that's how it looks on the surface. The streets caught wind, buzzing with celebration around his freedom. But while Honeykomb was locked down, Rapallo didn't pause. They brought in Finesse 2 times, shifting the scene. So now Honeykomb's back with everything to prove. Old rivals in Mobile, Finesse 2 times making moves. New online critics piling on. And Honeykomb, he's responding loud and clear, firing back in every direction. Then, on December 18th, 2023, things take a sharp turn. A Mobile County Sheriff's deputy, working with a federal task force, pulls over a 2022 Cadillac Escalade on Interstate 65 near the General W.K. Wilson Bridge. The windows were way too tinted, and the car had been lingering in the passing lane a little too long. Just a routine stop, right? Except when Honeykomb Brazy's involved, nothing is ever quite routine. Routine stop. Agents search the vehicle and discover a Smith & Wesson M P15 AR pistol right within reach. Here's the catch. Honeykomb is a convicted felon, which means he's legally barred from owning any firearms. He's arrested on the spot. But here's where things get really interesting. Special Agent Evan Fisher takes the stand in federal court and drops a bombshell. The FBI already knew Honeykomb was out and about before that traffic stop even happened. When pressed on why they were watching him, Fisher keeps it tight-lipped. What he does reveal is that Honeykomb Brazy had been under multiple federal investigations for years. This wasn't some lucky break for the feds. They weren't randomly pulling him over. They were waiting for him. Fast forward to July 25th, 2024. Honeykomb Brazy pleads guilty in federal court to being a felon in possession of a firearm. As part of the plea deal, both prosecutors and defense agree on a recommended sentence between 2.5 to 3.5 years. Judge Christy DuBose sets the sentencing date for October 25th. Just like that, Honeykomb's back behind bars. The man who walked out in November 2023 is now headed back less than a year later. Now, switching gears to Memphis. March 22nd, 2025, Saturday afternoon. Sauce Walka and his artist, Sazo P, aka Latorian Hunt, are in downtown Memphis near the Westin Hotel on Lieutenant George W. Lee Avenue. It's daytime, people are out and about, just another busy Saturday. Then, just before 2:45 p.m., a white car pulls up nearby. 2 men jump out and open fire, directly targeting Sauce Walka and Sazo P. This was no accident, no random violence. Memphis PD's Assistant Chief Don Crow confirms it was a targeted attack. These aren't strangers. It's clear the victims and suspects know each other. Tragically, Sazo P doesn't survive. Latorian Hunt, just 27 years old, dies on the scene. Sauce Walka takes a bullet to the thigh, but is rushed to Regional 1 Hospital, where he's reported in stable condition. His father, Papa Sauce, goes on camera to reassure the city. His son is alert and expected to make it through. Sauce Walka even posts from the hospital himself. He's alive and fighting. Police identified 2 suspects, 21-year-old Jaden Dandridge and 22-year-old Kevin Brown. The story is far from over. At just 22 years old, the story takes a dark turn. Memphis police release chilling footage and quickly issue warrants, but then shockwaves hit. Jaden Dandridge, one of the key suspects in the shooting of Sauce Walka, is found dead in Houston, Texas, the very city Sauce Walka calls home. Before he can stand trial, the man accused of shooting Sauce is also found dead in Houston. With no one left to answer for him in court, Memphis PD cancels his warrant. Dead men don't face justice, at least not in a courtroom. Meanwhile, the other suspect, Kevin Brown, stays on the run for months. It isn't until October 2025 that U.S. Marshals finally apprehend him in Clarksville, Tennessee. He's charged with first-degree murder and multiple counts related to using a firearm during a dangerous felony. The legal battle is still unfolding. Pause for a moment. There's something here that's important to unpack. Jaden Dandridge's death in Houston, right in the heart of Sauce Walka's territory, isn't officially linked to the shooting by the police. No public statements connect these dots. But on the streets, they don't. Need headlines or press releases to understand what happened. Something was settled, someone took care of business, and it happened in the very city where Sauce Walka built his name and empire. Now, let me break down some layers that often slip under the radar. Both Honeykomb, Brazy, and Sauce Walka share more than just a music career. Law enforcement has officially tied both of them to serious criminal activity. Not just rumors, not just the hype of a rap persona, but documented cases in court filings and federal reports. Sauce Walka's own record label has been described in Texas state court documents as a recognized gang. Meanwhile, Honeykomb Brazy's entire rise has been under FBI surveillance. These aren't casual accusations tossed around by gossip blogs. These are facts surfaced in courtrooms, sworn to by officers and federal agents under oath. That context is crucial. The feud between them isn't simply two artists clashing online, it's a conflict with real consequences. When people moving in these worlds collide, the stakes are far higher. The solutions they reach, they're not through mediators or handshakes. History makes that painfully clear. Now, pause for a moment and think about the timing behind Sauce Walka's words toward Honeykomb back in November 2021. At that point, Honeykomb was hitting rock bottom. Earlier that year, his grandparents had been tragically taken from him in February. Then, in June, his mother's home was under attack. On top of all that, he was back behind bars for parole violations. Meanwhile, he was consuming a lot of rap, watching the music scene shift, especially as the label he was signed to began redirecting its focus. Honeykomb was carrying a weight of grief that's hard for most to even imagine. And yet, in that fragile moment, Sauce Walka and Omni NA Hellcat chose to publicly throw shade at Honeykomb in the streets, a move that didn't happen by chance. This kind of action is always deliberate. It either comes from deep-seated disrespect, old grudges, or the desire to rise by stepping on someone else's reputation. When Honeykomb gets out and starts speaking up, he won't forget what was said. People like Honeykomb Brazy, they keep the receipts. They never let anyone forget exactly who said what when they were at their lowest. But here's something else many miss. Sauce Walka has always been loud, bold, and unafraid to speak his mind. That's been his trademark. He went after Drake when Drake was at the absolute top of the game. He threw words at 21 Savage and never shied away from confrontation. That raw energy that helped build his career also paints a target on his back. When you carry yourself with the kind of confidence Sauce Walka does, people naturally test that confidence. They want to see if you truly stand by your words. And there's more to the story. Houston streets run deep with their own risks and hidden battles. Sauce Walka made his name in a city known for its tough undercurrents. The Sauce Factory crew had already caught the eye of Texas authorities for gang associations. Tragically, one of his close artists, Say So P, was fatally shot in Memphis in what police ruled a planned hit. Not just random violence. Someone mapped out that moment, and soon after, one of those shooters was found dead back in Houston before facing justice. While fans on the internet try to reduce this whole saga to rap verses and online drama, those who know the streets understand it's about something that started long before any camera captured a single moment. So, here we stand today. Sauce Walka survived. He's still here. And the story is far from over. Stepping out of that Memphis hospital, he picked up his life with a speed that left everyone in disbelief. Less than 2 weeks after being shot in the thigh, this man was back on stage, wheelchair and all, performing in front of thousands. That moment was captured on video and quickly exploded online. Why? Because that relentless spirit, refusing to let violence slow you down, is a rare kind of power. Some called it inspiring, others thought it was risky, but the streets knew it was real. But Sisope is no longer here. Latorian Hunt, just 27 years old, wasn't only Sauce Walka's artist, he was a son, a friend, and another bright young man from the South whose life was cut short far too soon. Killed in a parking lot in broad daylight, his story got a few days of headlines before the world moved on to the next big story. His family? They're not moving on that fast. Meanwhile, Honeykomb Brazy is behind bars again. This is the same man who witnessed the heartbreaking loss of his grandparents over a video call, survived an attack on his mother's home, lost his record deal, only to come back and be caught with a federal weapon charge. Now, he's counting more days behind those walls. His RN4L gang, Real Nods for Life, is still out there. His music still streaming, and his name still echoing through Mobile and across the internet. Yet, the man himself? He's not free. The online world craves closure. They want a neat story, one with a clear beginning, middle, and end. They want to know who started the conflict, who's winning, and when it will all be over. But this isn't how real-life struggles play out. True conflicts don't come with press releases. They don't get resolved with interviews. When both sides are entangled in federal cases, shootings, deaths, and ongoing investigations, the situation takes on a life of its own, far beyond anyone's control or intentions. And here's the truth few talk about. There are players in this story who aren't rappers, no social media profiles, no flashy videos. They move quietly in the shadows, making choices that leave marks far deeper than any headline ever could. This is the complex, raw reality behind the stories we often only glimpse on the surface. It's a world where fame, pain, loyalty, and loss collide, reminding us that behind every viral moment, there's a deeper story waiting to be understood. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives like this, and share it with someone who needs to hear the full picture. Drop your thoughts and questions in the comments. We want to keep this conversation going. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.